pleasure to open this session and excited about the discussion. I'm Marinova. I come from a mostly academic background. I did my PhD in biology of aging, and I've always been interested in the longevity space. That's what I wanted to do since I've been a student. I was a kid obsessed with aging, oddly enough. After academia, I was quite disillusioned with the whole system. It's very romanticized how cool it is to do research, but in practice, it's not quite as fun. So I was quite eager to leave. I went on to VC and venture creation because I wanted to be involved with some real-world application of the research that's coming out of labs. And currently, I'm full-time DeSci. I work in VitaDAO and AthenaDAO, which is a similar DAO focused on women's health. And today, my talk is going to be about how can we advance longevity research through decentralized science. So we know that science has been the engine of progress in our civilization, but this engine is getting rustier and rustier. And even though there are many more researchers currently working in the field now, papers are becoming less and less disruptive and innovative over time. And we think that's due to skewed incentives in academia and in the publishing system as well. Academics are currently spending most of their time writing grants instead of doing science, and what's worse, they're applying for non-ambitious grants. They're doing incremental and iterative research and spending a lot of time in trying to fit into one model and satisfy the requirements of one funding body or another instead of thinking out of the box and doing innovative science. There are also miscellaneous incentives in terms of publishing. Scientists are optimizing their work in terms of citations and impact factors instead of actual translation. And that's usually because the IP doesn't belong to them, it belongs to the university, so they're not incentivized to translate their findings. And usually, or sometimes, the most citable work is not the most impactful work for society. There are also problems with data sharing, reproducibility, peer review, and I'm not going to go into those in detail now, but they're all parts of the problem of traditional science. And how do we solve these problems? You might have guessed it, our answer for that would be DeSci. We want to use Web3 and decentralized tools in order to create a better incentive system in science, and academia, and translation, getting discoveries to patients. We want to improve funding mechanisms by incorporating blockchain methods and ensure replication and open source science, and so accelerate scientific discovery. What we are doing in VitaDAO specifically is tackling aging with the power of global community. We fund early stage preclinical research, we retain and develop IP assets, and then start biotech companies from within the DAO. We want to leverage our community to do so, and we have over 10,000 members so far. Some of them are really involved. We have full-time, half-time, and part-time people. We have funded 20 projects so far out of over 200 projects evaluated. We think we bring a lot of value to the field because we're focusing on a certain gap, and that's translation from academia to startups. So we could be the first money in with the highest upward potential. We can come in pre-VC funding. We usually come in before venture creation studios as well, because we don't require for IP to pre-exist in order to take on a project. We're happy to fund the project and then license the resulting IP. We do use the IP NFT technology, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with if you're here. But how do projects actually get selected for funding? We do have a process which involves first pass through our community, which is a yes/no vote, very quick and easy to kind of filter out good from the bad projects or what's suitable for us. And then for each project that continues on, there is a team formed around it, because we have such a vast due diligence team from people all over the world with different expertise. We can pick the people that are best qualified to assess certain project. So for a project of senescence, there are scientists that are working on that topic, have done their PhDs and postdocs. So they are qualified enough to assess the project and then guide it through the process, and even incubated at later stages towards commercialization and preparing for developing an IP asset. We can then present the project to the community and pass it on to senior evaluation, which are people that are experts in the field, usually PIs or senior biotech executives. And they would make a recommendation together with the team, but the community will be the ultimate decision maker that votes on that proposal and whether it passes or not. So a little bit about IP NFTs and IPTs, so intellectual property NFTs, that can be tokenized or fractionalized in order to produce intellectual property tokens. And that is a very clever system developed by our partners at Molecule, which allows for IP to be tradable and liquid asset. The IPTs can be owned by the DAO, can be owned by the researcher, and by anyone from the community that's interested in the project and to participate in governing it and leading it towards a spin-out. So there is basically a mini DAO created around each IP NFT project because it has a similar structure, it has a community, and people making decisions based on on-chain voting. The first project that we had that went through that process is the Victor Karocek Lab. They focus on autophagy activators, and the round was 1,700% oversubscribed, so there is quite a bit of interest in that space. We are also using a model called decentralized tech transfer. It's basically carrying the Web3 ethos and eliminating the middleman. So what usually happens is we hire the researcher as a consultant and conduct all of the experiments in a CRO. So if any IP is produced, it will be owned by the company and not by the university. So all of our DAO matters run on the Vita token, is the heart and blood of the DAO, and that's what gives you power and decision-making the votes that you can use to either guide which projects are funded or how the DAO works. Those tokens can either be purchased or earned, and that's how you become an active member and start participate in the DAO's governance. So I had a QR code to share with you at the end. Since there are no slides, I can share it after. We're always looking for more people to join us and work in the longevity space.
Thank you, Maria.